Like and subscribe right now, or this spider will crawl on your face while you're sleeping.
Bodybuilding. It's either you like it or you don't. If you're into bodybuilding, you probably like it and find it to be a healthy and good use of your time. If you don't like it, you'd find bodybuilders to be weird people who are always lifting weights in gyms. In fact, you may even believe that there are weirdos addicted to steroids. It's all a matter of perception, really. Bodybuilders have this aura about them. An aura that spells strength, power, and dedication. Today, we're going to be looking at the most unusual bodybuilders you'll ever see. Basically, prepare for muscles and make it double. So, here's it. Our definite list of the top 10 most unusual bodybuilders. Number 10. Edith Wilma Connor. The most unusual thing about Edith Wilma Connor isn't the fact that her muscles look weird, or that she builds her body with a weird technique. The most unusual thing about her is the year she was born. Wilma was born in 1935, and what that ultimately means is that she's an 85-year-old bodybuilder. In your mind's eye, when you imagine bodybuilders, I'm certain you don't imagine someone the age of a granny lifting weights. But Edith didn't care about your imagination, or what the other bros in the local gym would think. She became a bodybuilder anyway. She first started bodybuilding when she felt that sitting about doing her data entry job didn't provide her enough movement. She wanted something more, so she started bodybuilding, and she entered into her first bodybuilding competition when she was 65. As you would expect, she won first place. When she was 77, the Guinness World Records declared her the oldest female bodybuilder in the world. That's no mean feat. Number 9. Ray Moon. We did tell you to prepare for muscle and make it double. If you thought bodybuilding at 77 was amazing, your mind would be absolutely blown when you discover that it gets better. Ray Moon, at 86, was the world's oldest competitive bodybuilder. When you're 80, you're most likely tired of the hustle and bustle of life. You just want to sit at home, watch some movies, and maybe play with your grandchildren. But at 80, Ray was in the gym, working hard, making gains, and being the coolest 80-year-old in a 509-mile radius. You would be amazed that at 70, Ray was a heavy drinker and smoker. He didn't even have anything to do with bodybuilding. The only body he was building was the one highly susceptible to lung cancer. But he soon fell in love with a Melbourne gym, and as they say, it was smooth sailing from there. Talk about a late bloomer, or builder, if you will. Number 8. Aditya Dev. We all know how bodybuilders look. Most of them are 6 feet tall, have wide chests, great forearms, and all that stuff. So, it would be rather unusual, of course, to see a bodybuilder that doesn't measure up to 3 feet. And that is precisely what Aditya Dev is, an unusual miracle of bodybuilding. Aditya is an Indian bodybuilder and dancer that was born with a genetic illness known as primordial dwarfism. This means that unlike many dwarves, he not only had a small stature in life, he had one in the fetus too. He weighed about 22 pounds and stood at about 2.9 feet. In 2006, the Guinness Book of World Records recognized him as the smallest bodybuilder ever. Now, I know what you must be thinking. At such small stature, what could Aditya possibly lift? Well, I have an answer for you. He could shoulder press custom-made 2 kg dumbbells, which is a remarkable feat considering the fact that he only weighed 9 kilograms at the time. So, if you were asking how small you have to be to not aspire to bodybuilding glory, you now have your answer, and that answer is that you're never small enough. Number 7. Vinnie Poppleton. How small do you have to be a bodybuilder? Aditya answered that question, and it's that you're not small enough. How old do you have to be a professional bodybuilder? Well, definitely not 12, says Vinnie Poppleton. Even though the body of the 12-year-old doesn't yet have the required hormones to build muscle, Vinnie still gets on with it anyways. He holds the title Mini Mr. Olympia, and he is remarkably strong. Of course, there are some who think that a child of Vinnie's age should spend his time doing other things rather than bodybuilding. He doesn't care really, and his parents support him completely. So why does Vinnie bodybuild? The answer is simple. He simply loves working and getting results, and bodybuilding gives him an avenue to see his work turn into something tangible. In addition, he says he loves the feeling of being on stage and showing off to the judges. Imagine being a judge asked to judge a 12-year-old bodybuilder. That would certainly be unusual. Number 6. Mark Smith. A lot of people have a lot of excuses for not being fit. Some say that they cannot run that fast, others say that their legs are constantly hurting, and some say that they simply cannot find the time. While they might be true, it's important to consider the inspiring story of Mark Smith. Mark Smith is an ex-British soldier who had the misfortune of losing one of his legs to friendly fire during a training exercise in Afghanistan. One day, while moping about, he read about Pure Elite Tournament that was made for disabled athletes. That's when Mark knew that despite having one leg, he could still make something of his life. and thus starting his journey to bodybuilding success. He worked hard day and night and finally became a good enough bodybuilder to win his division. When he won, he actually got a standing ovation from the audience. Imagine that, a man on one normal leg and another iron one competing in a bodybuilding competition and winning. Unusual, to say the least. Number 5. Mustafa Ismail. Mustafa is a bodybuilder, but not quite one. It's very complicated. You see, Mustafa has the largest biceps in the world. How large they are, you must be asking. Well, large enough. The biceps measure 31 inches around, and that means that Mustafa's biceps are roughly the size of a small man's waist. But since his biceps are extremely disproportionate to his body, it is sort of unusual for him to have such large biceps. But Mustafa says it's natural? He says that he eats 7 pounds of protein, 9 pounds of carbohydrates, and drinks 3 gallons of water each day. According to him, this is what helps to maintain his huge biceps. But skeptics say that the story of Mustafa doesn't add up. According to them, it's more likely that Mustafa makes use of steroids. And that reveals the darkest part of the bodybuilding industry. A lot of bodybuilders make use of steroids, and that's just the ugly fact. For many people, Mustafa's unusual biceps is a prime example of this. Number 4. Andreas Munzer. Andrea absolutely adored Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's why he became a bodybuilder in the first place. He loved Arnold and he wanted to be like his hero at all costs. By 1989, Andreas had gone pro. He was one of the biggest in the business, and he was destined for great things. He was known for having a super shredded shape, and for having skin texture that was extremely thin. At that time, he weighed about 200 pounds. 5 years later, he's added another 20 pounds of pure muscle. By 1996, he was at the top of the game. He was in the shape of his life, and he was already among one of the best looking bodybuilders in the world. Unfortunately, that was the year that Andreas died. Cause of death, organ failure. He had complained of severe stomach pain and was said to be bleeding from the stomach. To compound issues, his kidney and liver had failed. There was no way to save him. He died. A little while, more details about his death began to emerge. Apparently, his organs had failed because he was a heavy user of anabolic steroids. Number 3. Amanda Loy. The Tiny Titan, as she's often called, describes herself as a fun-sized human. Why, you may wonder? Well, the answer is simple. Amanda is just about 4 feet tall and weighs only about 72 pounds. And yes, you guessed it, Amanda is a bodybuilder. Despite the fact that she has a condition known as hypochondroplasia, Amanda has proven that you can do anything that you set your mind to. In fact, she's been successful that she was the first female little person to step onto an NPC stage. Our picture for today was sent in to us by a subscriber. If you ever come across a picture online and would like to know more about its origins, just send it to us. Who knows, your picture may even get featured in our next video. Number 2. Nick Scott. On this list, we've had a bodybuilder with only one leg. What if we can do one better, or lesser? What if we show you a bodybuilder with absolutely no legs? Well, in a manner of speaking, of course, Nick Scott has legs, but they just aren't working, and he makes use of a wheelchair instead. In 1998, Nick Scott's nightmare started when he was diagnosed as a paraplegic. His doctors told him point blank to forget about walking. And he did. He started using a wheelchair, and just when everyone wrote him off, Nick became a pioneer in wheelchair bodybuilding. How he managed to do it is still a mystery to very many, but he did. He dropped about 120 pounds and went pro in the big leagues. He was a trailblazer for other wheelchair-bound bodybuilders and helped in organizing the first IFBB Pro Wheelchair Championships in 2011. He was also rather successful in getting the IFBB Professional Wheelchair Division added to the Arnold Classic in 2016. What an unusual, uplifting story about a weightlifter, wouldn't you say?
I saved the best for last, but first, I have a quick challenge that takes only 5 seconds to complete. If you can leave a like and subscribe within the next 5 seconds, you'll get 10 years of amazing luck. Just try it, it really works.
Number 1. Barbie Steinshold Thomas. We've seen little bodybuilders, we've seen prepubescent bodybuilders, we've seen octogenarian bodybuilders, we've seen a bodybuilder with one leg, and we've seen one with no legs at all. You could be forgiven if you thought that would be all, but it isn't, not by a long shot at least. Barbie Thomas is an unusual bodybuilder for one important reason. She has no arms. How is it possible to be a bodybuilder to actually put on weight without arms? Well, we don't know. All we know is that Barbie Thomas competes with women the same size with 2 hands, and she competes really well. When she lost her 2 arms as a toddler, not many would have predicted a future of bodybuilding for her. But the mother of 2 and superwoman, Barbie Thomas, has shown the world that the only limitation that you have is the one that is in your mind. and she's without a shred of doubt the most unusual bodybuilder that you'll ever see. That's all for today, folks. We've seen some really inspiring stories and some not so inspiring ones. What really matters is that we're inspired by the good stories and that we learn from the bad ones. And that's a wrap. If you love this video, make sure to like and subscribe. You can also go through the channel as we have a lot more videos like this. See you guys next time, and remember to stay safe and happy.